Hi there, this is Dylis Guyan, and welcome to the Inspired Selling Podcast, the place where business owners and salespeople who sell to bigger businesses discover how to attract, convert, and retain more of their ideal clients on a consistent basis, and that is what makes the difference. And I am really excited to talk to our guest today, Sam Rathling. And I know she will absolutely blow you away with her insights and knowledge on LinkedIn. So let me tell you a little bit about Sam. As I said, she's a LinkedIn expert and is a CEO and founder of LinkedIn Inbound. She inspires business owners and sales professionals to generate massive results from LinkedIn. And she is the most sought after LinkedIn expert. God, let me get my tongue around that. LinkedIn expert in Europe. And she's on a mission to generate over 1 billion in sales for her clients. And I'm going to just say that again. She's on a mission to generate over 1 billion in sales for her clients. And in the last 12 months alone, Sam and her team have helped businesses to generate in excess of 7.5 million in new business from the LinkedIn platform. Oh my goodness, I am so excited to speak to you, Sam. Thank you.
I am excited to be here. It's great to be on the podcast.
Excellent. So I'd really like you to share with our listeners and our viewers your backstory, because I know it's really interesting. I heard it, you moved me to tears. And if you could give us a synopsis of that, in terms of how you got to where you are today and how you became a LinkedIn expert.
Well, first off, my background is kind of started out in corporate life in marketing agencies and worked for the drinks company Diageo. So I kind of had a bit of a corporate background in sales and marketing. And then I moved to the Netherlands in 2001 and I didn't speak the language. So I had to completely change career and ended up falling into the recruitment industry. And I was a very early adopter of LinkedIn. So in 2003, which is when the platform launched, wow, I became a member of LinkedIn. And back then it was obviously very kind of CV related, kind of recruitment heavy platform. And I used it for finding candidates. But then when I set up my own business in 2005, I needed to use it for lead generation. So I've pretty much been on the platform since it was born. I kind of always was good at LinkedIn. So people would ask me to speak about it, or they'd ask me to share my knowledge. And it was always something I did on the side. And then about 3 years ago, I just decided that I wanted to become a niche expert in something, and LinkedIn obviously was my platform of choice. I've spent the last 3 years kind of building my business pretty much from scratch, and I've been able to build my branding and my positioning as an expert successfully, and that's largely down to what I do on the LinkedIn platform. I get about 400 leads a month inbound now to our business, so we don't need to go looking for clients, which is great. Wow. Had a few ups and downs. So you mentioned, you heard my story, but last year was a little bit of a bumpy year for me. I had an investor come on board in my business. And in September last year, I unfortunately underwent a hostile takeover and lost everything I'd built over 2.5 years. And I've had to literally pick myself up and rebuild everything from scratch and get myself back to the place I was in before all of that happened. So it's been a bit of a journey, but we've got new offices now, a new team, and we've just rebuilt the client base from scratch, basically. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
Yes, and you really are an inspiration, Sam. And it's a shame that we haven't got time for you to share all of your backstory, because you are a great example of somebody who's made it and then just got absolutely knocked sideways, not just financially but emotionally too. Yeah, and I know that it really knocked you flat, and yet you picked yourself up, and yet you started again, and here you are with a really healthy business, employing people and generating all of this business for other businesses. You really are a credit and inspiration. You're motivated.
Oh, thanks,
you're
Dylis.
all of those things. And I know the conference that I attended where we first met, you got well, I would say the one and only best standing ovation. You really were fantastic. And I'm delighted that I've had the opportunity to be friends with you. And just before we get into things, I just would like to share with everyone that actually I took your teaching, so from the platform, and looking at your LinkedIn profile, I modeled obviously I didn't copy, I modeled your profile.
We call that R&D, Dylis. That's rip off and duplicate.
Oh, I love Oh, I love that. That's a real different take on R&D. Rip off and duplicate. Right. Okay. So I
modeled.
Yeah. And honestly, the engagement since then has been enormous. And that's just with the profile, without any of the other tactics. It's just, I've had more comments, I've had more likes, I've had more people sending invitations to connect, and people who I really want to accept their invitation, so thank you, Sam. And that's
You're more than welcome. That's just the beginning. It's just a scratch of the surface.
Exactly. I want to come to one of your 2-day events. It's just my calendar's looking a little bit tight at the moment.
A little bit tight. It's actually moving to a 3-day event now because the feedback I get from people that come and spend a couple of days with me is there's just not enough time to actually do all the practical implementation. So, so we're kind of moving it in September to a 3-day event. And people always say, wow, how can you possibly learn about LinkedIn in 2 days, let alone 3? And there's just so many things that people don't understand about it. So, it's amazing when you really kind of start to understand the whole ecosystem, how much potential there is there, and people are leaving so much money on the table.
Well, I will be there. I'll be there this year.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. So, Sam, let's get into it because I know people will be waiting with bated breath to hear your tips and strategies and so on. So first of all, why is LinkedIn such a fantastic platform for business owners and professional salespeople to attract and bring in more clients and more revenue, of course?
Well, it's a great question. So at the moment, obviously LinkedIn is, of all the social media platforms, is the one that is really focused heavily on the business side of things. So if anyone is listening to this, it's in a business to business environment where you're looking to get into companies and get to decision makers. It's pretty much one of the only places where you can directly get to senior level executives, decision makers in companies. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the organic reach that you can get with content on LinkedIn. Facebook and other platforms are making it harder and harder to get traction without paying significant amounts of money. And right now, the organic reach on LinkedIn, i.e. the free reach that you can get without paying LinkedIn a penny, is amazing if you know how to put out the right content and you know how to get thousands of eyeballs onto your posts and articles, etc. So I think it's super powerful. When it comes to sales professionals, I mean, for prospecting, for outreach, to get introductions to people where it's warmed up. Nobody likes cold calling. So to be able to speak to people who actually want to engage with you, have seen your profile and have started a conversation on LinkedIn, like that's amazing. If you can strip away the cold element and go directly to decision makers, it's very, very powerful.
Yeah. And people shouldn't be frightened about going straight to the decision maker. I hear my clients and prospective clients who say, oh, big businesses don't want to speak to people like me. Well, actually, yes, they do. Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah, absolutely. They do.
It's not big corporate to big corporate.
Not at all.
So people need to just kind of strip away that myth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And use LinkedIn to its full potential. So how can people use LinkedIn? First of all, let's talk about how to find the decision makers. Mm-hmm. What should the process be?
Well, first off, before you do anything on LinkedIn, you've really got to truly understand your target market. So down to the job title, the company size, the turnover, the number of people that work there, the industry sector. Like, you've really got to home in on who it is that you want, because if you're kind of going after everyone and anyone, it's not going to work. So before you even start looking for people, it's really important that you understand exactly who. So I would start by making a list of your customer avatar, or look at your previous clients and think, well, actually, we've got really good case studies in this particular sector or this type of business, so we should probably go after more of those. So before you do anything about searching and finding people, you've got to know who you want. And then you've got to make your profile, as you've mentioned, your LinkedIn profile needs to directly speak to that particular niche or sector that you're going after. So rather than trying to make your profiles talk to everybody, again, the more narrowed and niche down your profile is to speak to those direct decision makers, the better. So if you're going to start prospecting and searching for these people that you want to sell to, one of the first things they're going to do is look at your LinkedIn profile. And if that doesn't really speak to them, they're going to potentially not accept your connection request or maybe not want to engage. So before you do any prospecting or any outreach to decision makers, those couple of things have to be in place. In terms of search, I mean, there's basic ways to search on LinkedIn, which is how most people do it. So most people will go into the search bar on LinkedIn and they will type in a job title, for example, HR director or IT director or CEO, for example, and they'll hit the search button and thousands of results will come up. And they've then got to wade through thousands and thousands and thousands of results, some of which will be right, some of which won't. There is a really targeted way of searching on LinkedIn, and that's called Boolean search, which is Boolean. If you just pop along to my LinkedIn profile, the last article that I wrote on LinkedIn was actually all about Boolean search. So I haven't got time to kind of on the podcast today to kind of explain Boolean and what it is, but essentially it gives you a much more effective way of searching for those decision makers. So for example, most people would search, just type in a job title and hit search. You're going to very quickly, if you're on the free version of LinkedIn, run into kind of this commercial search limit. You only get a certain number of searches per month, and using a Boolean search will help you to effectively avoid hitting the commercial search limit, and more importantly, get a better list and much more targeted results.
Excellent. So how many searches, Sam, can you have a month?
There isn't a specific number, and a lot of it will depend. My guess is it's somewhere between 25 and 100 per month. It runs on a calendar month. So if you hit your search limit in a month, you have to wait till the first of the next month before it will be released again, if you're on the free version. If you're on Sales Navigator, you get unlimited searches. So if you move up to the paid version of LinkedIn, not the premium one, but Sales Navigator, which is the one I recommend, but don't go paying for LinkedIn unless you know how to use the free version first. So too many people have this grand idea that they suddenly get Sales Navigator and everything's going to be easier, but quite often, especially in big corporates as well. I'm working with a company at the moment. There's 100 people on Sales Navigator. So the company's invested massive amounts of money into Sales Navigator and is still wondering why their team is not generating leads. And it's because they've effectively given them a Ferrari and not taught them how to drive it.
Yes. How often does that happen? I see that over and over
all the time, right? Yeah. So it's somewhere between 25 and 100. And the reason it's different for everyone is because LinkedIn uses that as a strategy to move people into the paid services. So if suddenly someone goes from no activity at all to suddenly doing lots and lots of searches, that's going to flag up to LinkedIn that somebody's quite active and starting to use it more. Therefore, they'll target them more specifically they'll start capping how many searches they've got so that it pushes them to move to the paid version of LinkedIn, for example. So it's not the same. It's not the same for everyone.
And this highlights also why you need to know who your ideal client is.
Exactly.
Who your avatar is, to have done that work first
Exactly.
of all, and so that you're very clear about who it is you want to work with, who are your best clients, who pay you promptly, who value what you do, who give you repeating referral business, all those nice things.
And then you've got, so let's say you're going after HR directors. Well, there's probably 15 different job titles just for that one type of person. So again, if you're not using the search correctly, you could waste 15 different searches on 15 different job titles versus using Boolean search where you'll, use one or two to find all of those people together. So
yeah, excellent. So let's say then that we've now found who, our prospective clients, we've made a list. What's the next step?
Well, obviously the next step there's two stages to that. One is you've got to get them to actually accept your connection request. So the key thing with everything on LinkedIn is never, ever, ever sell. So there's nothing worse than connecting with somebody and within seconds you've got a sales pitch sitting in your inbox. It's very annoying. Everybody hates it. And yet so many people do it. It's just really frustrating. So I call those people like the cheaters or the hunters on LinkedIn. They just don't get how to do this outreach thing. So the first step is you've got to get the person to accept your connection request. My advice on that would be to personalize the invitation, find things on their LinkedIn profile that maybe you have some common ground with, and always prospect in your second degree network. And that means that you've already got some mutual connections. So if you're doing a search, always make sure that you're searching just one step away from you. So your first degree connections are the people you're already connected to. Your second degree are all of those people's networks. So always prospect in your second degree, because you've got some common ground already. It's a bit easier to say, I saw we've got some mutual connections, and they'll see some of the same people that you're both connected to. And then the second piece is, once they have connected, you've got to get that person into a conversation. And this is where most people go wrong, because they start pitching and selling and making it all about them. And of course, it's all about the client. So, and this comes back to target market. If you truly know and understand your target market, you'll understand their pain, you'll understand their challenges, you'll understand exactly what they're frustrated by and what things keep them up at night. And, you know, if you know all of that, it's easy then to construct a message that speaks to their pain. And it really is, if you get the right conversation going, you're not really trying to generate a lead. All you want is a conversation. So I've got a client just to give you an example, I have a client in the automotive game. So he has a car garage and he does MOT and servicing. So he has two types of target market. One is kind of local directors who drive German cars. That's one of his target markets. And the other one is fleet managers with a fleet of lots of German cars. So you can't tell from a LinkedIn profile what car someone drives, right? So I can't tell which car you drive, Dylis. But if I asked you a question in a message and said, hey, Dylis, by the way, out of interest, what car do you drive? You'd probably respond, right? What do you drive, Dylis?
A Jaguar.
There you go, right? So, and people will respond to a question if it's easy and it's, you know, not difficult and isn't giving away, like, you know, confidential secrets. But for example, with the Derby-based directors, like, he just asked the question, what car do you drive? And most of them will respond, and now he's got a conversation going and he knows whether or not they are potential target market. With the fleet directors or fleet managers, it's a different question. So we know that a fleet manager would be struggling with cost reduction, and that they would be struggling with, you know, how much time their team are off the road if they've got to have their cars serviced. If you've got 100 salespeople on the road, well, a fleet manager is going to be concerned about how much time it's taking them off the road, for example. So the conversation there is about, you know, how high is cost reduction on your agenda for this year? So if, you know, they're not all going to respond, but if you know the pain point of the client and you put the right message together, then it's easy for you to get them into a conversation. And that's really where, and even if they don't, let's say they don't respond to the outreach, that's okay, because now that person's accepted your connection request, they're in your network, and it's then going to be the content that you put out there that's going to drive them back to you. So you never know who's watching on LinkedIn. You never know who's following your posts. You never know who's out there going, oh, I like this person. So even if they don't respond to initial outreach, now that they're in your first degree network, there's a higher chance they're going to get to know, like, and trust you through the content that you put out.
Yeah. And I don't know whether you would recommend this, but this is just what I do. Once I've connected with someone, and I always send a personalized message, unless it's on my phone, because if you connect on your phone, is there a way around that where you can
send? Of course there is. Of course there's a way around it. Yeah. So on your phone, people have this myth that you can't personalize a message on the phone. So rather than hitting connect button, there's like a little ... hidden menu. Go to the right of where you'd normally hit connect. So on the phone, if you hit connect, you can't personalize it. But if you hit the ... button, there's an option to personalize the invitation from your mobile phone. So yeah, there is a way around that.
See, there's always something, and it's always simple. It's just you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would connect with someone, and then I would actually, before I start any kind of dialogue, I would like or comment on their post, just to kind of put myself on their radar.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then. And my strategy actually is then make that connection on LinkedIn, then I send an email, then I make a phone call.
I mean, everyone's approach is going to be different. I mean, ideally you want to be taking it from the online to the offline as quickly as possible. So, you know, remember that behind every profile is a real human person who's looking for connections. So if you can get them to the point where they're like, actually, I'm really interested in what you do, let's have a conversation. Or even better, that they see your post and then they inbox you saying, I've been following you, I really like what you're doing, can we have a chat? It's all about that kind of inbound and attraction piece versus kind of push and sell. So social selling, which is kind of the art of selling without selling, is really all about attraction and pulling people towards you who are in your target market, versus having to always be constantly selling and advertising and pushing, which effectively repels your target market away from you. So it's all about attraction and not repelling.
So let's talk about content for a moment then.
Yes.
What should people be posting? How often should they be posting? Should they be posting at any particular times? What are your views on that?
So I have 8 different types of content strategies for people. So, so I'll give you the 8. I'm not going to be able to go through each one in individual, but the first one would be kind of educational posts. So things that are going to add value, tips, etc., advice, knowledge, sharing expertise. So that would be an educational post. The next one would be a gratitude post. So that is where you're thanking somebody else in your network. So for example, I could do a post after the podcast thanking you for the opportunity to be on your podcast, and do a post about how fun it was to be on the podcast. That would be an example of a gratitude post. So thanking somebody else in your network. You've then got sharing your wins. So kind of successes and wins. People like to hear that other people are doing well, or they've won something, or they've, so if you win a big contract or a big proposal, you might not be able to share who it was with, but you could describe the customer, maybe describe the pain points that they had, etc. But you could talk about wins and successes. Another good one is kind of social proof that you're good at what you do. So if you're receiving a recommendation from somebody, or somebody sent you a nice gift, or somebody's written a nice handwritten thank you card, anything where it's a happy customer telling you that you did a great job, like share that on LinkedIn, tag the person, because it's just continual social proof that you're out there helping people and doing a good job. The next one would be around the subject of it's one, if you've probably followed Janet Murray, but Janet Murray is amazing and she's fantastic at content, but she calls it a grenade post. So it's kind of a bit controversial. So you're kind of lobbing a grenade into the newsfeed and splitting opinion. That can be quite a good one. I wouldn't recommend doing it loads, but when you do, like, the engagement's really high because everybody has an opinion. So you might want to think about how you could do that in terms of, a subject that would divide opinion. You've then got, there's all sorts. My favorite one is documenting. So Gary Vee has a really good statement, and he says, when it comes to LinkedIn and content, you need to be the TV show and not the commercial. So people want to watch the TV show. They don't want to watch the adverts. So by posting what you're up to and documenting your journey, that's a really good way. So just think about, like, the last 7 days, what have you been up to? Write a list down, and that's a LinkedIn post. So just sharing and documenting what you're doing. If you're running a masterclass, if you're teaching people, if you're at an event, if you're at a seminar, like whatever it is that you're doing in your day-to-day life, like share it and post about it, because people are interested in what other people are doing. And that can drive inbound leads.
Yeah, both personal and...
Yeah, both personal and business. Or if you do something personal, then link it back into business. So I had a client the other day, and he's a culture expert. So he goes into big companies who are having problems with culture and team building and things, and he'll go in and help them to turn that around. And he got his 6-year-old and his 9-year-old to draw a picture. He said to Holly, Holly, I want you to draw a picture of unhappy bunnies. And he said to Oscar, can you draw happy bunnies? So he did a post on LinkedIn with the 2 pictures, and super cute little pictures by a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. And he posted about, so he used his kids' pictures, and he posted about a hospital that he's in Manchester that he's taken from the bottom of the rankings to being the number 1 through changing their culture. And it was all about culture and shifting culture and happy bunnies and unhappy bunnies. So within 2 hours of the post going up, he had the 3rd biggest insurance company in the UK messaging him saying, we want to talk to you about culture.
Wow.
So that's an example of where you can use something that's, kids related and pull it into the business world. So that was a great post. It was super smart of him to do that. He's now working with that organization, and it came off of a post. So that's an example of where you can share what you've been doing, how you've helped somebody, share a case study of a client. He didn't mention the name of the hospital, but he shared the results he got for them. So if he's connected with other people in that industry who are in that same position, someone's going to see that and go, we need to talk to this guy because we've got a culture issue. So just sharing what you're up to can drive inbound leads. So that's a really good one. Kind of just general news, updates about your career or updates about your business, just things that are going on. So if you're moving offices or rebranding or whatever it is that's going on. So there's so many different things, like content is everywhere. Like people are too scared to jump on a video. They're too scared to use, so video is by far the number 1 medium to use on LinkedIn at the moment. So if you just look down your newsfeed on your phone, take 60 seconds and 50% of the posts are all going to be video. So if you're going to do content on LinkedIn, think about how you could use video, include that in there as well.
I'm just making a note of all of these, by the
way. So there's so many different strategies. I would follow Janet Murray for more content ideas. Janet's the UK's leading content strategy expert. She's got a fantastic podcast. So I'd recommend listening to her. I've learned loads from Janet. She's a client as well. So definitely jump on Janet's podcast as well if you want some expert help on content.
I've actually been on her podcast.
Have you? Oh, very good. She's great.
We're looking to do the second part.
Brilliant. Yeah. So have a listen to Dylis's interview with Janet. That's probably the best thing. So if you pop that link in the post as well, Dylis, and I think it's just I'm not the expert. I'm the expert on LinkedIn, but from a content perspective, she's got a great media planner as well that you can use. But just think about, like, you might not think what you do on a day-to-day basis is that interesting, but actually people want to see what you're up to, and that's the only way they're going to get to know you. And come towards you.
Excellent. And that's a really great list. Is there anything else to add to that, or is that
I can't remember how many I've done. I think I'm missing one, but I can't remember what it is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, that's 8. That's great.
Oh yeah, perfect. Then we've done them all.
So one of the things that I come across is the business owners seem to get this, although they are very much immersed in what they do. They're experts in what they do, but they're not expert in sales and marketing. And then you've got they suffer a lot from the peaks and troughs of cash flow. The salespeople who are employed by companies, they get a whole raft of product training, and they get about that much sales training and this much in prospecting training, which of course is LinkedIn prospecting. And a number that I have spoken to have said, we can't, as individual salespeople, put posts onto LinkedIn. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, every company is different. So every company will have their own kind of social media guideline, etc. What you'll find is that the company is probably doing posts from the marketing department on their company page. So in most cases, most companies will allow the salespeople to share and repost the content that's being put out by marketing. I always come across this battle. Every corporate that I work with, there's always a big divide between sales and marketing. But the companies where there isn't the divide, they're actually working together. It works brilliantly. So senior management tends to be a bit nervous about what people are going to post, and I think it's just a lack of education that the company or the senior management don't necessarily understand the power, like the true power of LinkedIn. So I'm working with a company at the moment. I'm training 100 salespeople in 23 countries, and they've had to go through this journey of like educating, not just marketing. So marketing have been in on all the sessions to understand like why LinkedIn is the way it is, and to give the salespeople permission to really build their own personal brand within the newsfeed, but also understand what they need in terms of content. So it can be a challenge. And what tends to happen is they just don't post anything for fear of posting the wrong thing. So I think it's just a lack of education. In the company I'm working with, I'm now going in to train all of the MDs of each country and the senior management and the CEOs, because they've kind of done, like, we've taught the salespeople, we've taught marketing, but the senior management aren't bought in because they are bought in because they're getting tons of results. But in terms of, they just don't know why we should allow salespeople or anyone in the organization to post. And that it's just a lack of education. So if anyone's listening to this and they're struggling with that, like, reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll see how I can help you. But it's definitely a struggle. But the companies that do allow it, like, the results are ridiculous. I mean, this one company, they've got £1.5 million in their sales pipeline after just 10 weeks. They booked 37 sales meetings from LinkedIn, and I've only trained 6 of them. I've still got 95 to go this month. I'm all over Europe this month. But £1.5 million on their bottom line in their sales pipeline off the back of them posting and them outreaching to prospects. I mean, that's significant. You know, these guys are getting into companies that they never dreamed they get into because they're actually going after the right people.
And this, for me, this is about companies putting boundaries, standards in place. Like, it's much like compliance, you know, it's
Absolutely.
like financial services. They can't just do what they want in the working day.
No.
They've got rules and boundaries around
Exactly.
compliance. And it's exactly the same thing. But if people don't share the message, and they don't clearly, with, you know, with clarity, share what their expectation is, what they can do, what they can't do, and that the managers get on board with it as well, you know, like you're talking about marketing department and so on. So important.
It is. A lot of it's common sense. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, when someone's working for an organization, they are representing that brand, and they are, you know, out there with that brand, with that company's name. So, you know, I think within reason, as long as people understand what as you say, what the boundaries are and what they can and can't do, then, you know, they should be allowing their people to be out there, you know, because they're not going to be out there, especially in sales. Why would you be posting things that would be detrimental to the company? Like, if you're in sales, you should be allowed to post great content that drives people and drives leads. Like,
exactly. And then rather than having just marketing department, maybe 4 people, you've got 40
exactly.
people.
You've got like an army of people. Like this particular company I'm working with, literally, like the competition, like what has happened over here, like the channel partners are taking notice, their competition is taking notice. Like suddenly the awareness of that brand in that marketplace has just gone through the roof. And it's just because they've empowered their salespeople to be able to create their own content and become their own personal brand, and allowed them to do it because they've trained them what's right, what's wrong, etc., and how to do it effectively. And the difference it's going to make. I mean, I reckon by the end of the next year, they'll probably have over 12 million pounds in their sales pipe, or in their sales, just off the back of training 100 salespeople on what they actually should be doing with LinkedIn. And it just, like, corporates get it so wrong. And it's just a lack of education. They just don't understand the power of LinkedIn.
Fantastic. So really what we said here is identify your target market. You could use the free search. Go for your second tier connections.
Go for your second tier connections.
Personalize your invitation to connect. Ask them a question, and keep posting.
Keep the consistency going.
Consistency.
And wrapping all around this is what's something called the social selling index, Dylis. So I know I trained that. I know you now know what yours is, but just in terms of, everybody has a score out of 100 on LinkedIn that kind of measures those few things that you just pointed out there. So if you don't know what your social selling index is, I'll give you the link just now. It's linkedin.com/sales/SSI. So linkedin.com/sales/SSI, which stands for social selling index. So go check out what yours is. Everyone has one, and it gives you a score out of 100 with 4 kind of main areas that LinkedIn is looking at you to do. So the first one is all about content. So that's to do with building and establishing your professional brand. The next one is all about finding the right people, and that's to do with your target market. The following one is about engagement. So how much interaction you're having on the newsfeed. And the final one is about building trusted relationships. So go check out your SSI if you're listening to the podcast. And that really is the measurement of how you're performing as a LinkedIn member. Ideally, you want to be 75 plus to start getting, that's kind of where the magic happens. So if you're below 75 right now, that should be your target to get to 75. Just implementing some of the strategies I've given you on the podcast will help. But it is, if you understand the social selling index, pushing yourself into the high 70s is going to give you the best shot at generating business and leads from LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Sam, I could talk to you for 2 weeks. We've got half an hour. So we just, you know, we're kind of on at the top of the hour. So, well, actually at the half hour stage. So tell people how they might get in touch with you, Sam. And I'm sure, you know, you'll have lots of people getting in touch with you.
Well, yeah, obviously LinkedIn is usually the best way to get hold of me. I'm delivering training a lot of the time. So if you do message me, I might not get to it immediately, but go to my LinkedIn profile, just find me on LinkedIn, Sam Rathling. There's only 2 of us on LinkedIn, and one's an IT director in the US and the other one's me. I have a website called linkedinbound.co.uk. So if someone was interested in a deep dive or a masterclass or something like that, all of the details of that are on the website. I do have a book, which is called LinkedIn or Linked Out. And on the website, it's actually downloadable for free. So you can go to linkedinbound.co.uk, just scroll to the bottom and you'll see the picture of the book. That has 107 tips on how to grow your business on LinkedIn. So it's a good place to start as a checklist you to kind of start working through some of the detail of LinkedIn. So it's
What's
got a
it
different
called again,
section.
Sam?
LinkedIn or Linked Out is the name of the book.
Nice.
And the website is linkedinbound.co.uk, and the book is downloadable from the website. So
Excellent.
there's a free tips for you. So yeah. And obviously I post things. I mean, I've got my YouTube channel, which I'm heavily focused on this year. So I'm just about to start putting up lots and lots of content videos. And I'm on the other platforms, but LinkedIn is the queen.
Absolutely. I agree. Sam, thank you so much. This has been absolutely fabulous. And your insights, I know, will help people, because, this hasn't been fluff and filler. I don't do fluff and filler podcast interviews. Just tell people and help people. And like you, I'm on a mission to help people attract more clients and live the life that they want to live, really.
Absolutely.
Without struggling. So thank you so much.
You're more than welcome, Dylis. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, how fabulous was that with Sam Rathling? Just an amazing lady. So please contact her, get a download from her website and so on. And again, if you want to interact with me more, then please come and join my Facebook group, which is a free group specifically for business owners and salespeople who are selling to bigger businesses. And it's called Inspired Selling. So just go over to Facebook and search for Inspired Selling. Come and join us, and I'd love to interact with you over there. Thanks for listening or for watching, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. Bye for now.